Welcome to everybody joining us today and for taking time during your finals as well. We really appreciate it and are very happy to see you all attending. So to let you know who I am, I'm Frankie Hunt. I'm the regional manager who's responsible for student recruitment at the University of Reading, specifically from the Americas. So first of all, I wanted to give you a brief bit of information on the University of Reading, just so you know who we are or where we are, and to give you a little bit of context before I pass over to my colleagues who are going to give you more information on our agriculture, international development and environmental sciences courses. So the University of Reading is a relatively old university, and we originally founded in 1897 as a University of Oxford Extension College, and we were awarded our Royal Charter, becoming our own university in 1926. We have a really long history of welcoming international students to the university. And in fact, the first international student we had was all the way back in 1908, and they actually came from Kenya to study agriculture. So it's really relevant during this presentation. So we are in the top 30 UK universities in the world rankings for this year. I wanted to give you a general idea about the type of subjects that we have in the UK top 20. And you can see here, of course, that agriculture is on the list, and that's ranked at number 7. So we are a relatively large university, and we have just over 20,000 students in total, including our offshore students that study at our overseas campus in Malaysia and one of the business school campuses in South Africa. So we have just over 15,000 what we call home students, which is UK and until recently EU students, and then just under 4,000 international students. So you can see it does make up quite a sizable amount of the student population. And from all over the world as well, so from about 180 different countries, including, of course, students from the US, but also students from Asia, from India. We have students that come from Southeast Asia, in Africa, Europe, and South America as well. About 80% of our undergraduate students graduate with what we call a first or a 2-1, which is around about 3.0 GPA or above, and a similar amount of our students at postgraduate level also graduate with a distinction or a merit, so in that top quartile. Just in case you don't know where Reading is, and I'd honestly be surprised if you did, but very pleased. You can see on the map here, we're down near London, so we're in the southeast of the UK, and we're actually about 25 minutes by direct train from central London. You can also really easily get to London Heathrow International Airport in about 40 minutes, and Gatwick International Airport in about an hour and a half to 2 hours. You can also get to loads of other major UK cities and historic sites. So Oxford is only about 25 minutes away by train, and you can get over to Stonehenge in about an hour and a half, and Stratford upon Avon in similar sort of timescale as well. So Reading itself is a large town, and we have about 300,000 people that live in the Greater Reading area, and we're a commercial centre in what's called the Thames Valley in the UK. It's basically a bit like the Silicon Valley of the UK. It's full of kind of large blue chip and technology companies. So as an example, we have the UK headquarters of Microsoft based in Reading, UK headquarters of Oracle, and also offices of other big multinational companies. So Prudential, Huawei, Ericsson, PepsiCo, Virgin as well. Outside of the careers side of things, we are a regional hub for culture, shopping and recreation. So you can see in the bottom left-hand image, we have the Oracle Shopping Centre, which is right in the centre of town. We have a lot of green open spaces that you can see on the right-hand side. So if you go about 30 minutes in either direction from Reading, you hit some really beautiful English countryside. So you can both enjoy the town side of things with lots of bars and restaurants, pubs, nightclubs, but you can also go out and enjoy nature if you'd like to in Reading too. So we have 2 main campuses, with most of our activities taking place on the White Knights campus. So this is a really huge parkland campus. It's just over 130 hectares, and it was originally well, I guess a country estate, you'd say, that belonged to a member of English nobility. So it means that we have a manor house on campus, which is now our School of Law. We have a botanical gardens, we have a lake, we have a large amount of woodland and wildlife. So it really is quite an enjoyable place for you to spend your time. We also have our historic campus, which is called London Road, You would be unlikely to be studying on it because of the subjects that you're interested in, but we do have our graduation hall there, and you'd also potentially have some exams at London Road as well. So to give you an idea about the scale of the campus, this is probably about half of it, I would say. So it's cutting off actually the agriculture building on the other side and the meteorology building. But you can see the lake here, which is White Knights Lake on the left-hand side. You can see some of our student accommodation, which is, if you can see my arrow here, kind of at the forefront, the Manor House, which is the School of Law, which is down at the bottom left-hand side of the picture, and some other of the student buildings. So you can see it really is a big green open space, and everything is quite close together. So just to give you a brief idea about some student facilities, we've just finished refurbishing our library, spent over £40 million in developing that, and finished that redevelopment in 2019. So you can see some of the new facilities in the bottom right-hand side. I think that's down in some of the group working area, but you can also rent study pods to do group work. You can use the library 24 hours during the week in term time, in normal times. And there also is 24/7 online access to academic resources, which is all included in your student fee. So I did mention accommodation briefly before, and we are lucky in that we're a campus university. So most of our campus accommodation is either directly on the main campus itself, or it's within about a 10 to 15 minute walk of the main campus buildings. We have a variety of different rooms that are available, ranging from about £130 a week up to about £200 a week, depending on the type of accommodation it is that you're interested in. So everybody has their own room, so nobody's sharing the actual bedroom itself, but you are potentially sharing your bathroom facilities if your room is a little cheaper, and everybody's sharing kitchen facilities that they're able to use. So before I pass over to my colleagues, they can give you more information on the academic side of things. Just wanted to briefly touch on fees and funding, because I know that's really important to everyone when they're making their choices for grad school. So we do offer 12-month programs, which of course is shorter than in the States, where you'd be looking at a graduate program of about 2 years. This means that when you see a fee listed, it's the fee per year, but you're only paying it once. So for some of our programs, you're looking just over £17,000 for that year. So that's for your whole master's degree. Or just over £20,000 for some of our other master's degrees. So these listed for 2021 entries, they're subject to slight change on a year-by-year basis. Of course, what I'm sure you'll all be really excited to know is that Centre College students do receive an automatic 10% discount when they come and choose to do their graduate degree with us. So that's one of the reasons why I'm here today, to let you know about the type of programs that you're able to do. So now what I'll do is pass over to my colleague, Dr. Giacomo Zanello, who's going to give you more information on our Graduate Institute for International Development, Agriculture and Economics.
Thank you very much, Frank, and thank you everyone for joining today's session. I really appreciate it. My name is Giacomo Zanello. I'm a faculty at the School of Agriculture, Policy and Development. And today I would like to give you a little bit an overview of the Graduate Institute for International Development, Agriculture and Economics, what we often call it the GIDE. So I will go through a series of slides. It will not last more than 10, 12, 15 minutes, but then we will have chance to, I will have chance to answer any question you might have. And I wanted to add that whether I'm doing the presentation, we have also Professor Dorward in the call, which will be able to answer a specific question, mainly regarding the international development kind of master programs. So if we can go ahead in a couple of slides, the Graduate Institute for International Development, Agriculture and Economics sits within the School of Agriculture, Policy and Development. The School of Agriculture, Policy and Development is one of the main schools at the University of Reading. And as we are going to see in the next slide, it includes a series of different facilities that are part of the research and the teaching activities that we do. Those are from span agriculture, such as the Crop Environmental Lab. We have a series of different field trial fields. We have an international cocoa quarantine collection, and a dairy research farm as well with more than 100 cows. So as I said, all those facilities are built for research and teaching purposes. So very much research and teaching at the School of Agricultural Policy and Development comes together. And the areas of focus that we do in terms of research are part of the different departments in which the School of Agricultural Policy and Development is built on. So we have an agri-environmental department, a crop production department, applied economics and marketing department, international development, animal dairy and food chain science department. And as we will see in a few slides, we see that the program that we offer at master level matches the expertise that Frankie highlighted, as we are world renowned. In addition to that, we also have, we actively collaborate with a series of NGOs, with governments, and with other research institutions. Why then to study development at Reading? So I'm going to match a little bit what is said in here is that agriculture is the School of Agricultural Policy and Development is ranked first in the UK and sixth in the world. And more than 80% of the research that we do in this area is rated as internationally recognized. So it's a research excellent framework has been awarded the recognition for the quality of the research that we do at the School of Agricultural Policy and Development. In addition to that, we are ranked in the first 10 in the world in terms of development studies, environmental science, and geography. I'm going to go to the next slide to give a little bit an overview of what GIDE is. So GIDE is a very international composed environment in which more than 70% of the students are from overseas and 30% from the UK and Europe. Every year we have students from around 40 different countries with a very different background in terms of previous education, but also some students join us after some working experience. And something that we are very proud is the sort of a community field that is international pool of students is able to build and the school is able to foster every year. So there is a lot of peer-to-peer knowledge, not just outside the classroom, but also in the classroom. A lot of activities that we do in the classroom are related to learning from each other and sharing experiences. But also we have a very rich alumni community. So people graduating from Reading tends to be build very strong ties with peers and colleagues. And that is part of the alumni community that we have. We have an extensive learning resources. I will touch upon them a little bit later. And also, we have many opportunities for placement within the programs that we offer. In terms of the program that we offer, we have listed here the different master program that we are going to offer in the next academic year. And I divide them between the International Development Cluster, the Applied Economics Cluster, and the Agriculture Cluster. So International Development Cluster are masters that touch upon international development issues from a more general applied international development to a more specific issues in development linked, for example, to agriculture or to climate change or even environment. We have a very popular course in communication for development, looking at how communication can foster development and can be used in the global south. And finally, we have another very popular master program in development finance. So how finance can be a tool for development, from microfinancing, but also to credit and banking in low and middle income countries. The applied economic cluster include our agriculture economics master program. Probably is one of the most popular in the UK in terms of agriculture economics, with a strong history in agriculture economics. More recently, we have launched the food economics and marketing and the consumer behavior master program, which leverage the expertise in terms of research that we have at our school, but also expertise that we have in other departments at the University of Reading. For example, psychology or food science as well. In terms of agriculture, we have a master program in agriculture, ecology, and environment. And then animal science at the moment is online only. And to conclude, we have a program in agriculture and development as well. And this one is a kind of an overlapping between international development and agricultural sciences. How do we learn at Reading? And this is a kind of a very quick snapshot on how we teach at Reading. And what we wanted to highlight is the variety of learning methods that we have. So we have very interactive learning methods that could range from group work, debate, discussions, seminar series, and tutorials, to field trips. Field trips we leverage to the with the research facilities that we have connected to the School of Agricultural Policy and Development, for students really to see how what we learn in the classroom feed into the reality. And this matches also the kind of assignment that we have. So from essays to group project to written coursework. And for some of them, we also have an exam at the end of the academic year. I will be able to answer any question really that you might have more specifically on this. I would like to go in maybe skipping a couple of slides. Since I think most of you will be based there, will be kind of English will be your first language. So we had a slide in which we show the support that we provided to international students in terms of languages, but also in terms of pre-sectional courses that we believe are important when you apply for a master's student. In terms of learning resources, Frankie already showed you the library, but also we have a very rich environment environment where students can really have access to enhance their kind of learning opportunities outside the classroom. And finally, I would like to give you a quick overview of the scholarship opportunities, because we recognize that those are important. At the School of Agricultural Policy and Development, we have every year more than £300,000 in scholarship. We have a specific GIDE International Scholarship. In here, there is the website to have access, that you can have access to all the information that you might be interested on. And what I wanted to mention is that the majority of students that come to the university are somehow supported by the scholarship. So if you are interested in the kind of topic that we teach, we are interested in the School of Agriculture, Policy and Development, please have a look at the scholarship, because there are many opportunities that students have access to. Just to conclude, in here we have the different contact points for international development, for applied economics and marketing, and for agriculture. By any means, please do get in touch with us if you have any question. I will be here to answer any question that you have in this short video, but anything that come afterward, please do get in touch, and we are more than happy to liaise. So thank you so much for your attention in here, and I would like to pass to Tom, which will provide you more information about the program in environmental management, environmental pollution that we offer.
Thank you very much, Giacomo. Yeah, so a very warm welcome to you. So my name's Tom Sisma. I'm an associate professor in environmental science, and I'm also the director of our postgraduate talk programs in the School of Archaeology, Geography and Environmental Science. And today I'm just going to introduce a couple of our master's programs in environmental management and in environmental pollution. So as we move to the next slide, I think I'd just like to first of all introduce our department and particularly the strength of the university and the department in environmental science. So the university is ranked in the top 100 in the world for environmental science, and in the UK we're ranked 4th in the UK for our research power, so that's the quality of our research. We have a number of members of academic staff that are award-winning and really well known in their scientific world, and also in the public sphere as well as authorities in their subject matter. And the degree programs that we offer, both undergraduate and master's programs, are very kind of hands-on and practical. This is really what unites our school in archaeology, geography and environmental science. These are all subjects that involve field work, lab work, practical activities, and this inevitably involves collaborating with external partners, either industrial partners, other academic organisations, and many of the research staff work internationally as well. And this all comes to benefit our students and provides them with some really excellent employment prospects as well. I'm sat here at the moment in our Russell building, which is our dedicated building for geography and environmental science. It's got fantastic laboratory facilities and student space as well, where you can gather and work as teams and have those really useful discussions and make those lifelong friendships, which we observe that our master's students do. And as a school as well, we place quite a high importance on equality and diversity, and I would add inclusion as well. So I sit on our EDI committee, and we undertake a lot of initiatives in order to ensure that the school is a very welcoming place to people from all around the world, regardless of the colour or creed, for example. So just moving on to our next slide, I'll just introduce with a little bit more detail the degree programs that we offer within the department. The first degree program is environmental management. This is actually a program that's offered joint with the School of Agriculture Policy and Development, and it's a mixture of social science and natural science as well. So most of the modules you'll see in the core of the program are social science modules, which will give you that grounding in economics and law, for example, understand policy and regulation. And then you'll also be able to select options that can give you that specialization in the area of natural science, perhaps to do with agriculture or climate change or pollution, that gives you that synergy from both the social science and that natural science. The environmental pollution the environmental pollution program is a far more scientific program, so there's very little social science in this one. It really gives you those skills in order to specialize in contaminated environments, so contaminated land, air quality, water pollution, so that you can assess pollution in the environment, you can implement remediation schemes, and you can ensure that that clients, for example, might be complying with environmental legislation. So typically graduates from that program go on to work either on the regulation side of the fence, or they work for environmental consultancies. And in both programs, we draw on case studies from all over the world in order to kind of demonstrate concepts. But if I just move to the next slide now, one of the things I wanted to do, because the structure of a master's program, as as Frankie has already alluded to, is a little bit different in the UK compared to the US. So typically we have a 1-year program, and that 1-year program is made up of what we call 180 credits. So to give you an idea, an individual credit represents about 10 hours worth of learning. So that learning could be in the classroom, could be in the field or the laboratory, or it could be independent study where you're preparing your assignments, for example. And for environmental pollution and also environmental management, those credits are split up with 60 credits doing a research project, so that's supervised by a member of staff, and 120 credits are what we call talk modules. And I can just provide the list of talk modules for environmental pollution here, where we've got a range of modules. All of these are core to the program. And what that means is that these different modules, they talk to each other. So you might be learning complementary skills in the different modules that then build up your competency as an environmental scientist. So we learn about how pollutants move in the environment. We learn about how microbiology can both be affected by and affect the pollutants themselves. We learn about urban air quality, waste and environmental management. We apply that in environmental consultancy, and we learn how to analyze pollutants in the lab. We learn how to deal with data in quantitative data analysis. And we also apply within our field class as well. So we have a dedicated field class for the program. You then also will get an introduction into how to develop your skills for independent learning, how to survive as a master's student, and also understand contemporary issues in environmental law so that you can ensure and help your clients in the future comply with environmental law. So moving on to environmental management, again, we have the total loading of the program is 180 credits. We still have 60 credits for a research project, but here that 120 credits of talk modules is split. So 60 of them are core modules and 60 of them are options. So just to list the core modules here, the sort of flagship module for the program is a sort of a environmental management principles and practice module. We then learn about environmental economics, waste and environmental management, ecosystem services, that same contemporary issues and environmental law module that you saw on the previous program, and also the skills for independent learning as well. And then we have the optional modules. So there are some modules that we recommend. So for example, we recommend that you do a module in research methods, either in quantitative or qualitative research methods, so you know how to handle quantitative or qualitative data. It's recommended to take a research or enterprise microplacement, so you're embedded within an organization or a project, so you're learning a little bit more about those professional skills that you can then apply later on. And we also recommend that you come on our field class with us as well. And I guess the main reason is because it's really fun, but it's also an opportunity for you to apply the skills that you've learnt in the field. And then we've got 3 different streams where we organise the other options that you can take. The options are much greater than the ones that I'm just displaying on the slide here, but this gives you a bit of a flavour. And you can mix and match from the different streams if you like, but I've just sort of pigeonholed them into 3 different categories in order to help kind of understand the sort of things that we offer. So we either offer them on the options on contaminated and urban environments. So these are a lot of these modules are also appearing on the environmental pollution program. We offer modules in the changing environment. So this is largely looking at the impact of climate change. And we offer modules on agriculture and rural environments, thinking about how food interacts with our environment. And then we've got this final 60 credits, which is spent undertaking a research project. So here you'll work closely with a member of staff. You can have a project of your own design, or you can work on a project that a member of staff suggests to you. And essentially here, the resources of the department are at your disposal. So that means you can take field equipment out, so help collect samples or monitor an aspect of the environment. You can use our laboratories here in the Russell building. You'll have access to other experimental facilities, some of which Giacomo has spoken about, access to farmland, glass houses, other sort of items that we have on campus here. And many of our master's students also collaborate with industrial partners so that we undertake a project that helps or benefits or helps answer a question our partners are interested in. Some of them are also hosted by our partners as well to help sort of foster that link between studying and working. So with the next couple of slides, I'll just highlight a couple of kind of key modules that are across both of the programs. So both of these are core to the environmental pollution program, but optional for the and very popular for the environmental management program. The first is a module in environmental consultancy. So here you'll be working in teams with other students. You'll be playing the role of an environmental consultant. You'll be assigned a client who will have a site, and typically you'll need to then go to that site and take samples in order to answer a question, undertake a risk assessment, for example, on that site, analyze samples. So you design the entire sampling scheme yourself, and then you perhaps do some environmental modeling, and then ultimately present your findings in the form of an oral presentation and a report back to that client that we then invite in, along with some other environmental consultants to help give you some positive feedback on your on the work that you undertook. The second module I want to highlight is the field class module. So typically we go to Dartmoor, which is a national park. That's about a 3.5-hour drive from Reading in the southwest of the UK. It's a very beautiful part of the country, and we typically have 4 days in the field. So it's 6 days, including a couple of travel days either side. And currently the 4 main topics that we have for those 4 days is ecosystem services, sustainable land management, contaminated land, and water quality. And each day you're sort of playing the role of a consultant, very similar to that previous module there, where you'll be set with a question or a problem that you need to solve. You typically then need to go out into the field. You need to make observations or measurements, take samples. We set up a lab at our accommodation so you can take samples and analyze them back at our remote lab. And then ultimately you'll be writing up a short report to a client, an artificial client in this case, to suggest a solution or propose a course of action for them as a result of that. So just a last few slides here. I just want to identify that both of our programs are accredited by the Institution of Environmental Sciences. So I guess what that means for us is that it helps to ensure that the program is of a high standard. So IES are particularly interested in ensuring that the work is applicable for the industry, so that we're creating graduates that are suitable to go into industry roles and that has a strong component of practical and field work embedded within the curriculum. And also for you, what it means is that you can apply for free student membership as a student, and that puts you onto fast track for full membership, and ultimately can help you become a chartered environmentalist or a chartered scientist through the IES. So just to talk a little bit about the destinations of some of our students as well. So I'd guess the most common destination for students, particularly on environmental pollution, but also on environmental management, is to go into environmental consultancy, particularly in contaminated land consultancy, but also we're seeing roles in air quality and waste management. We have graduates from both programs that go to work for local and national government, both in the UK and overseas, and then working perhaps in environmental policy, particularly for environmental management students. But also there's water companies, agricultural consultancies, and a number of students that work for organisations that you might not necessarily associate with an environmental role, but most large organisations have an in-house corporate social and environmental responsibility team, and within that there's usually an environmental role, so roles for people to be particularly taking care of the environmental sustainability of the business. So that could involve all sorts of things to do with reducing carbon footprints or implementing waste management strategies, and ultimately ensuring that you're complying with the environmental law. So just with my penultimate slide, I'll just kind of summarize a little bit that we have a tailored program, the environmental pollution program, where all the modules are core, but they're kind of coherent and structured. But we've also got these flexible programs as well. So the environmental management program, where you can take various options and find your own path. Much like as Giacomo was saying, we have a strong emphasis on active student learning, a lot of time spent in the lab or the field, where we've got all core modules in environmental pollution. We can calculate that 2/3 of that contact time is either in the lab or the field, so doing things that are hands-on. And so that's ultimately how we help you learn. So it's rather than telling you things in lectures, we allow you to undertake projects and discover for yourself. There's lots of opportunities and engagement with employers that enables you to network with them and understand really what they're looking for. And then we design our coursework assignments to reflect the sort of things that you might be doing later on in your career. So in environmental pollution, again, where all of the modules are core, there's no assessment. So it's 100% assessed by coursework. And so those courseworks might be consultancy style reports, for example, or policy briefing notes, or laboratory reports, that sort of output. So it's similar to what you might be doing as a graduate. We've got really good student satisfaction as well in our postgraduate taught experience survey. I should highlight, perhaps should have already highlighted, that field class is at no extra cost for the tuition fees. So I think a lot of programs have these extra hidden fees, so do look out for that. Our field class, the accommodation, the travel, the food is all included within the cost of the tuition fee that Frankie introduced at the start. And finally, we've got also a very international community. I would say probably not quite as international as you have in Gide, but we do have a very international community here in Jez as well, but obviously a very friendly and small cohesive group of students. So the master students that I've observed over the years, they are a really close-knit group. There's typically about 20 to 30 students across both programs, so everyone gets to know everyone really well during the program and makes kind of lifelong friendships and networks. So if you would like to get in touch, or if you have any questions that you're unable to ask today, then there's my email address there. I'm the Program Director for Environmental Pollution. My colleague, Professor Anva Hoff, is the Program Director for Environmental Management. And also Professor Nick Branch is our Director of Recruitment and Admissions, and all three of us would be more than happy to answer your questions if you want to drop us an email and get in touch. But I think at this point I'm going to hand back to Frankie, who I think will chair the question and answer session.
Great, thank you so much, and thank you to all of the speakers today. It's all been really interesting, and it's always good for me, I think, as well, to hear people talk about their programs and to find out a little bit more detail, kind of the ins and outs of what daily life is like within the departments. I have put my details on here, and if any of you would like to get in touch just with regards to application processes, how you go about kind of applying for those academic discounts, if you want to find out more about accommodation or general life on campus, I'm also more than happy to help you or to help signpost you to the relevant service that will be able to assist. I don't think we have any questions so far at the moment. However, I did think of a couple of things that I thought might be quite useful to students who are listening back to recordings of this and to those that are listening live now. So first of all, I know we spoke a little bit about the scholarships that are available at Gide. However, Tom, would you be able to provide more information on the scholarships that you have available, please, in your department?
Yeah, of course, yeah. So I perhaps should have mentioned it. So for international students, we offer a number of £4,000 scholarships, which are applied as a discount to the tuition fee. Typically, the application times, we have 2 rounds of applications. I think one is usually in March and one is usually in late May or early June. So those are advertised on the university webpage. Typically, you would apply for a place in the program, and then you'll receive an email inviting you to apply for a scholarship. And then it's essentially a competitive process. So we would encourage you to apply to those, and we we give them away every year. So I think it's a positive thing. Every year we offer them.
Great, thank you. That's really good to know. I also thought it might be quite useful if all of our speakers on the call actually could give a bit more information on the type of research that's done within the department and how that research is then transferred into teaching and how students benefit from the research that's being done. I know, Giacomo, you touched on this in your presentation, but I think it would be interesting to find out a little bit more about that in depth if possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Frankie. I think, as I mentioned in our in my presentation, research and teaching goes along in our department, and I think it's a little bit different depending the kind of cluster in which you are studying. So, for example, for agriculture, there is a very strong link between the studies and the field visit, for example, to the farms or field visit to the fields in which we currently are doing research. And also something that I think is always, students always very appreciate is how not just the teaching staff, but also postdoctoral students or doctoral students share their experience in terms of research in the classroom. That could be, for example, in seminars or tutorials in which scholars relate the research they are doing with the teaching and the topic that are covered in the classroom. In terms of applied economics and marketing, again, we have a strong link between what the staff is teaching, is doing research, and the teaching. Often students have opportunities towards the end of the year to be involved in some of the projects that we are currently doing research on. And sometimes there might even be some overlapping between these learning and working experiences with the dissertation at the end of the year. The same is for international development. It is strong ties between research and teaching. And something that I wanted to mention, and is quite relevant for international development, but also for other courses, is how we often have guest speakers from the industry, or in our case, more often from international organizations, NGOs, or other research institutes, that they share their experience in seminar or ad hoc lectures, bringing their own experience in the classroom as well.
Great, thank you. Tom, would you like to provide any more information for your department, please?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'll try to avoid repeating some of the things that Giacomo was saying, because a lot of it also rings true in our department as well. But each of the individual members of staff teaching on the program undertake research as well as teaching, and most of us design our own modules so that we can align what the students are doing in the classroom with what our research programs are. So I guess to perhaps provide a quick example of that. So I teach a module on our master's program on the laboratory analysis of soils and pollutants. And to do that, and also in the field class as well, we visit this site, which is a huge abandoned arsenic mine in the southwest of England. This is an arsenic mine that I undertook experiments at during my PhD, so I know it really well. You can go to different areas of the mine where you've got lots of different types of either soil or soils, different textures, different types, and these all have different availabilities of pollutants to organisms. So the total amount of arsenic in the soil doesn't necessarily reflect the amount that can be available for uptake into a plant or an earthworm, or the amount that would be absorbed by your gut if you were to ingest it. And so all of those methods of measuring and analysing these soils and these pollutants from around that mine spoil, we then apply in this module, laboratory analysis of soils and pollutants, to give the students the skills that they would need to investigate their own site if they were then a graduate environmental consultant trying to, for example, design a remediation scheme or a risk assessment for such a site. So there's a really kind of close knit between the skills that I kind of learned and developed as a PhD student and I continue to use in my research group, and the sort of things that the students might do. And that's true of many of my colleagues doing other things as well, but I thought I'd use an example that's close to home.
Great, thank you. Something else I was thinking about with regards to facilities, I always think that one of the best selling points, particularly on the agriculture side for the department, is the farms that we have in the dairy centre. I actually cycled past the dairy centre recently and I'd never seen it before, and I was amazed by how many cows there were there. I thought it was really impressive. I wondered if any of our speakers on the call could give a little bit of information about those kind of big crop facilities or the Dairy Research Centre, just for students listening.
I can try and answer that. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Hi, Frankie, yeah. So, yeah, the different facilities, or some of them have been mentioned, and they do really range hugely, as you said, from the Dairy Research Centre, which does all sorts of research ranging from sort of cow diets through to how to reduce greenhouse gases through the management of dairy systems, through to you know, the biology, through to kind of human behavior and interaction. So it's really a very, very wide range of things that go on. And then in terms of other facilities, the crop facilities, you mentioned the cocoa quarantine. So that's a more international, and that links us in with governments and cocoa institutes all over the world, and people from all over the world coming to Reading or linking with Reading to get things tested, to solve problems and to solve practical problems. We could kind of list more and more things, but I think the general message is that we have really good facilities, but we also have research that is seeking to solve practical problems and is very much not research for research's sake, but research to solve problems and to solve world problems. And that feeds into master's dissertations, etc. as well. Yeah.
Great, thank you. So I don't think we have any additional questions from students. So see, hopefully, if you're listening live, this has been helpful for you. And if you are watching back as a recording, do please get in touch with any of us on this call, or any of the other addresses that were listed earlier in the presentation if you would like to find out more. What I'll probably do now is pass back over to my colleague at Centre, just so she can kind of give any additional information that's needed.
Yeah, I'd just like to double check. Ella, do you have any questions for any of the speakers or anything you'd like to discuss that you're interested in before you signed on today?
Oh, no, I'm all good. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Yeah, no problem. Well, I would just like to say a big thank you to all of you for taking time out of your day today I know it's probably after the work day over there, I believe. So thank you so much for taking time to speak with us and record, especially today. I know we have our first day of final, so it was kind of, you know, up in the air, but I think we had a lot of students really interested in this. So I'm excited to pass this recording on to them and so they can have this information. So I just want to say a big thank you from Centre College. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us, and I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day.
Of course. And Frankie, I will get back in touch with you whenever I return in August, and we can discuss some fall recruitment as well.